Okay, this is regarding my brother's sewing machine. So you see how the stitches are right there on those pink dots? That's my seam marking. Okay, can you see those little pink dots? Okay. So I pinned this together, and believe me, I pinned it perfectly. But on the other side, it's sort of shifted a little bit. It's shifted, right? You see that, how it's shifted? And so I'm going to have to sew this over. I'm either going to have to unpick it and do it again, and it'll do it again. See? And I got, this is the right side. I got a little bit sticking out there. See? From the inside of the French seam. Right? So, there's a lot of things wrong with this machine. Here, another thing, let me get a piece of scrap fabric. Yeah, I don't think I have enough battery. Anyway, I just, I've spoken to the folks at Brother, and, they have all of these excuses. Like, their attitude is very clever, and they try to make you feel like the reason why the machine doesn't work well is because there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay, if you're having a problem with your sewing machine, a lot of these new sewing machines, they're very expensive and they don't work very well. It's like if you had a car and the car was so finicky, you had to baby it to some ridiculous degree, like it couldn't go backwards on half a tank of gas, and it couldn't go uphill in the morning, and you had to do all these little wacky things to get it to work properly. I mean, that means it's not a good car. It's not like, oh, you just have to figure out how to use it. No, it's not a good machine. Another thing going on with this machine is there's like an automatic knotting like that you could do at the end of the seam to bind the end of the seam. And that knot doesn't work. So basically, it will sort of bunch up your threads at the end. And what you have to do is you have to sort of pull them out straight and then trim them down to the fabric. And what happens then is it unravels. Even if you leave the ends long the way the machine leaves it, it still unravels because it sort of just knots it. It doesn't actually do like a proper sewing knot. So what I do is I stop my stitch, I knot the machine, and then I back stitch, and then I stitch again over the knot. Because also the back stitch function, that also doesn't. I have the seams unravel using even if you back stitch like a half an inch. And also a lot of times the back stitch, it'll back stitch like an eighth of an inch to the left or to the right. Even if you're just going perfectly straight and you have your hand perfectly steady, it just kind of will go off to the side. So then you have to go over it over again and again. Another thing, and I wonder, did the engineers who made this sewing machine, did they realize that people were even going to be sewing with this machine? Did they realize that they were making a sewing machine? And I just think that, because a lot of the home sewers are predominantly women, I think that they just make garbage. And they think, well, this is good enough for these, stupid women that we hate, and, screw them. Because, I for instance, if you have like a seam allowance, like say you're folding under a 1/4 inch of an edge, and then you're going to sew that, right? So I want my presser foot to help me hold that 1/4 of an inch down, but you can't get your needle over far enough so that the presser foot can hold it down and sew a 1/4 of an inch of of a bit of folded over fabric, a 1/4 inch fold under. You can't, the presser, so basically you have to move the fabric over so that it isn't being pressed down by the presser foot, or this needle won't reach it. And it's like, don't they realize that a 1/4 of an inch is like very common for a fold under? You know, it's just absurd. And this machine was over $1,000, you know? And so, if I were to buy another machine, I would, you know, do not look at all of these. Oh, look, it has automatic knotting at the end of the seam. It has all this stuff. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It is a piece of garbage. Just get yourself an old machine or an industrial machine and have that machine refurbished by somebody really good in your area. And, you know, you'll spend like, what, $30, $50, and you'll have a much better machine. You know, and I say this, and all of this video is made in hopes that you don't have the same misfortune that I had. Sewing is very difficult. And the last thing that we need is to have to do some sort of dance, you know, just to do things like close a stitch, to bind a stitch at the end. You know, where I have to stop the stitch, knot the stitch, back stitch, forward stitch. I mean, I'm thinking about what I'm making for dinner. I can't be, you know, and I'll tell you something else about this machine. I have never made anything really nice on this machine because it makes so many mistakes, and the mistakes pile up, and you just get so frustrated at a certain point that you're just like, screw it, whatever. And so the stuff that you make, it turns out not to be that nice. So if you're having difficulty sewing, if you think you're not a good sewer, it's not you. It's your machine. These machines suck. And here, I'm going to tell you something else. Like, you're probably never going to see this video because, well, I'm not with a production company. Okay? You're probably never ever going to see it. Even if you search out the words, you're never even going to see it. So, I mean, it's really disappointing. If you do happen to see it, congratulations. But you go on all of these videos, you know, if you search, you know, Brother sewing machine, you're going to find comment after comment, like thousands of comments saying how awesome the machine is. Well, you know, I believe that those comments are people who work for the company, or, you know, it's some outside agency that's working with the company to persuade you to think this is a really great machine and that everybody who's bought it loves it. Well, that's not true. This machine sucks. For the amount of money I spent, I should not give me any troubles. It should just be like, you know, it should be like my ally, not my enemy. And it is my enemy. It's a horrible machine. Brother is a horrible company. They hate women. They hate their customers. And that's all I got to say. Have a great day. And I really hope that you're having a great time sewing. God bless.